Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and it's another week of Joe on Joe Illustrated. That's right, you new listeners. Joe on Joe is the podcast where we cover all of the old school Joe ephemera. I've covered every episode of the cartoon, the Sunbow, the DIC, the Extreme, and I've worked my way through every issue of the Marvel comic book. I've worked through half of the How to Draw. We're going to get back to that. We're going to finish. I got to finish that last issue. We're going to get there. We've worked through a bunch of the 3D stuff. And now I've been working my way through the G.I. Joe magazine, it has been fun and enlightening. I've learned a lot about the years 1986 through as we head into 1988. The trends that were hip, the things that young kids were into at the time, the hot, fresh-faced stars of Hollywood, etc., and so on and so forth. So and that's what we do here. We work through it with a fine-tooth comb, page by page, panel by panel. And, yeah, kind of talk about it. So, welcome aboard if you're new, and welcome back if you're old. And I hope you guys enjoy the ride. So, a little bit of business up top. The last couple weeks, I've been entreating you to check out our eBay page for the Get Dan to Austin Film Festival collection. And I am happy to say we've met our goal. Dan Beals has met his sales goal. He can now chase his dreams. He's going to Austin Film Festival, gang. I'm so excited. And he's not just going. He's going as a judge. So he's getting full access down there. He's going to be hobnobbing and rubbing elbows and seeing every film and getting to know every producer there because he's a talented dude. And you all listeners help make that happen. First of all, I absolutely recognize some of you purchasers. So that's huge. And that is so kind. And thank you so much. And enjoy those books. I'm really glad you got them. Hello to you you know who you are. And secondly, all of you who shared it on social media, that's even bigger. I appreciate you sharing it. We're going to have winners for the 3D Joe's Digipack giveaway. I'll have winners next week. I'll tally all that up this week and check out who shared it on social media, who sent me an email to get in the contest. And we're going to donate that free 4-pack Digipack from the 3D Joe's collection, which is very exciting. It's really cool. It's 4 Blu-rays of interviews all about G.I. Joe. So thank you to everyone who helped share and helped spread the word. It was super successful. In 1 week, we moved, technically there's 8 days total. And there's still, to be honest, if you're hearing this, there's still a couple stragglers that either someone bought and then they flaked on paying, or they just didn't sell through, so we relisted them. So there are still a couple things out there, but all the good stuff's really gone. All the great stuff's really gone. And in 8 days, we moved probably 650 comics, trade paperbacks, actual graphic novels, trade paperbacks. Probably moved about 650 of them in 8 days, which is a lot for not being a professionally run outfit. I have the weekend was the big bounty because that was when I was able to list all of them, and it was a fully packed car with boxes that I filled one of those big post office bins about 3/4 of the way to the top with boxes. And I think it was easily over a ton of literal weight of actual books that we moved in a week. So that's huge. So if you were out there and you helped in any way, shape, or form, thank you. You're really Dan sends his best. He really appreciates it. He's overwhelmed, and I heard that from him this morning. He's so excited. So we're happy to report success on that front, ladies and gentlemen. The other big news, the G.I. Joe-centric news, is check your emails, boys and girls. Your dragonflies are about to ship. So I should say check your emails and clear some space, because that dragonfly is not small. And it is about to ship from Hasbro Pulse. I got mine this morning, my notification this morning. That's very exciting. And so get ready for it. And yeah, Yeah, and while you're getting ready for it, I want you to go online and I want you to log into whatever podcatcher you're listening to and give the show a rate and review. Drop a little note. Tell the world you like it. Tell the world they should listen to it. I appreciate it and it helps. You should also subscribe to our sponsors, the Movies and a Meal podcast. They've been great sponsors and really helped the show grow. I know what we saw. Oh boy. We saw Superman, the Christopher Reeve biopic, put out by CNN and Warner Brothers. Holy cow. So great. It was showing in limited run. I think as of this recording, it might have one more night. I feel like they said it was running the 21st and the 28th, the weekends of. So we caught it on the 21st. So I think maybe there's screenings on the 28th as well. Being a CNN and like Warner Brothers Max, HBO Max thing, I have a feeling it'll be on either CNN or HBO pretty soon. So you're going to get a chance to see it. But if you can see it in the theaters, go and bring some tissues because you're going to cry. It was very touching. Toilet and I and our friend Alex saw it. And just amazing, especially if, Superman the movie meant anything to you, which I have a feeling a lot of you in the audience, it did. It's just, there's a lot about Chris's story that I didn't know. There's a lot I forgot. And then just to see it all put in, cast with a modern reflection and to see how his legacy has carried on since his passing is really powerful. So a really well-made film. Like it was great. And obviously it tugged at the heartstrings. So I hope the gang over at Movies in a Meal podcast review that. That would be amazing. And then send me a note to @JoeOnJoePod. That is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're on social media, if you just want to send me an email, drop and say hello. It's JoeOnJoePod@gmail.com. And that's your direct line to a good time. So there you have it. Without any further ado, meaning goodbye, I guess, not adieu, a female do. We're digging into G.I. Joe Magazine Winter 1988. It's got a fun snowy cover with Falcon in kind of a half snow outfit. It's really more snow camouflage, really, than it looks like an actual, like, it's a funky looking snow vest is what I'm saying. It's not bad. I mean, I could see it, but the camouflage part disappears when you give them the green pants. But they're trying, man. At least they're trying to. It makes some sense. Behind him is Frostbite, I believe. Yeah. No, Iceberg. I'm sorry. That's Iceberg behind him. Skiing behind him. And in the background, is that the Cobra wolf? The ice wolf? With a couple of vipers. And the G.I. Joe, is it the Persuader? I think that's the one with the long gun. In the snow. And, of course, Falcon is skiing after Cobra Commander, which is funny. Like, it's just absolutely hilarious. So we're going to see. I believe that relates. This all relates to the story inside. Will the Joe team deep freeze Cobra? And it's Cobra Commander in his 87 garb, right? So it's his funky looking outfit. I was talking about these magazines with some Joe friends, and this one really matches my vibes on this of like, there's not enough Joe content in these things. There is, but there isn't, like there's really, I don't know. I don't want to Monday morning quarterback their editorial decisions, but it's really so cookie cutter kid with a couple pieces of G.I. Joe thrown in there. So we've got a Striped Chips Ahoy commercial or advertisement commercial, but it's answer a puzzle. We've got the table of contents. The name of this week's story is making me. I'm just saying there might be. It's called The Big Chinese Chill, and I'm just saying there might be some insensitive things in there. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it along with you guys, so I get the same kind of excitement. It's kind of one of the fun things when we did all of the episodes. I watched them once, but for the most part, I was really pretty fresh on it. And that was kind of like what I like about it. So that's how I treat these stories too. So we'll see what's in there. I don't know. No promises. This issue is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse. I do like that they present these as if It was the actual G.I. Joe team giving you this magazine, and they choose a different Joe member for each one. In this case, it's Outback. Survival shirt and all. I like that. Outback's the name, Survival's the game. But this time out, I've got a real easy mission to make it through. Telling all your Joe team members about this exciting issue of G.I. Joe magazine. In the Big Chinese Chill, my Joe buddies and we put some Cobras on ice in the snowy mountains of China, and then you can soar through the sky with High Flying Hill about an 11-year-old kid. John flew a small plane across America. We also have a nice little bio section on TV star Will Wheaton, because this was 87. This was when the Star Trek The Next Generation just started. So this was it wasn't our introduction to Will Wheaton, but this was saying, you've seen Will Wheaton in things, and now he's going to be in the Star Trek show. You should all watch it. So that's interesting. And I know, obviously, we'll get there when we get there. The in-action section tells you how bodybuilding can improve your health, fitness, and sports performance. And you'll go to the top of the world in Adventures with a Mountain Climber. So there's info about young astronauts. They like to do astronaut stuff in those magazines. And you know what? Outback says he was right. It was an easy mission. Enjoy your reading adventure, Yo Joe. Thanks a lot, Outback. Mail call. I don't think I've ever said this. This comes out of the Welsh Publishing Group, 300 Madison Avenue. And I feel like 300 Madison was the Marvel Comics address. That sounds familiar, but maybe not. I may totally be misremembering that. I know at one point they were 666 Madison Avenue, and I'm not joking about that. But I feel like maybe not. Maybe I'm misconstruing that. Anyway, we've got a lot of mail call actually in this one. So we've got letters from Trey Lister out of Columbia, South Carolina. Any relation to Tony Lister? I want to know. Adam Hatch from London, England. Which I like this. He says, in my local toy store, I saw that the G.I. Joe figures were called Action Force. I got some and thought they were great. I think the magazine is great too. We all like it over here. I like that Adam is speaking for everyone. And listeners, Action Force, pay attention, Action Force here on the Joe and Joe Show. There might be some announcements in relation to the great Action Force. Over in G.I. Joe magazine, the posters in your magazine are really beautiful. This kid likes to draw, and sometimes I draw your posters. I like to draw pictures with lots of action. This is from Jason Medeiros out of Captain Cook, Hawaii. That's a great name of a city or cove or whatever it is. We've also got drawings on this page from Donald Yoon from San Francisco. He does a Mauler. It's a pretty good Mauler. Brandon Eller. He gave us an Outback, so that's fitting. Survivalist Outback. Joel Pena out of Chicago, Illinois. Good on you with this Cobra Commander. It's spot on. It looks like he's aping an existing photo, but I'm going to tell you, Joel, nice work, my friend. We've also got a drawing of what's his name, the boxing instructor. The Cobra boxing from Chris Carr out of Memphis, Tennessee. Big Boa. Right. Blanking on that. Yeah, Big Boa. And he looks good. He looks very steroided out and ready to punch. Got letters from David Cruz out of Salem, Massachusetts. Jerry B. Jones out of Yonkers, New York. Adam Mills out of Columbia, Mississippi. Now remember, if any of you know these people, you need to speak up and tell them that we've read their letter. Donald Baker out of Seattleville, Ohio. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Quentin Brown out of Black River Falls. He drew an Outback. Dan Kleeman out of Ottawa, Ohio. Chris Carr out of Memphis, Tennessee. Jason Sudborough out of Bangor, Maine. David Duckworth, Omaha, Nebraska. Sean Curry out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He drew a Jinx for us. Adam Yeater out of Medway, Ohio. A lot of Ohio representation. He gave us a nice Crocmaster. Sam Blumenthal out of New Haven, Connecticut. Jeremy Martinez out of Kerhonkson, New York. So that's it for the roll call. Nice work, guys. 2 pages of letters. Blowing up. In between these 2 pages is a 2-page ad. And it's funny, the style of this ad totally matches the style of the G.I. Joe Atari games. There was you remember ads back in the day for computer games? Because like a lot of times like the graphics weren't great. So think of the Metal Gear Solid ad. Remember, like, there was a lot of text on the page. There'd be a couple pictures of the game, but it was a lot of text with big text on top. The G.I. Joe the G.I. Joe Atari game was totally like this too. So that's what we got here. It's a 2-page spread with giant text on top, a lot of text wrapped around these pictures in the middle. But it's for the G.I. Joe laser battle game, which is laser tag with G.I. Joe. This was not in my radar. I don't remember this game at all. It is exactly what you think it is. It's laser tag with G.I. Joe. It's got the same, it's called Laser Battle. But it is also by Worlds of Wonder. So that is, those are the people who made laser tag. At last, you can equip yourself with the most up-to-date anti-Cobra technology and join the G.I. Joe team. They did a good job of making a G.I. Joe laser that looks nothing like any G.I. Joe weapon, and a target that doesn't appear to have any semblance to G.I. Joe. So while cool, there's not a big G.I. Joe. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the merchandising for Star Trek in the early 70s or late 60s, early 70s, when they took existing toys and slapped the Star Trek label on it. That's the vibe I'm getting with this laser tag G.I. Joe thing. There's G.I. Joe sticker on there. It's certainly green, but there's nothing on here. Like, why wouldn't that be Cobra? Just make that a big Cobra head and put the target in the middle. I don't know why that's difficult, especially because you're a G.I. Joe gun shooting a G.I. Joe target. You know, like, sell one that's Cobra, sell one that's G.I. Joe, and then you play with your friend. I don't understand. And like, we could have gotten a Destro looking gun out of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this feels like a model they had for something, and they slapped G.I. Joe on it. I wonder if it worked well, though. I loved laser tag. Laser tag was very cool. I had my own set. We played a lot, not a ton, but played a few times, and it was always a lot of fun. So, I mean, we were living in the future. You know this. So the on target section, this is kind of like the, what's happening in the world section. We've got some upcoming books that they want you to read, stuff about rockets and satellites, Flying High, which is Spud Webb's autobiography. That's awesome. There's more on that later in the book, actually. Vicky Cobb's How to Really Fool Yourself. You can learn fun and easy illusions. That's exciting. I'm actually a little enamored with this ad a mailer that's in here. A Thundercats magazine. That's off my radar. I don't think I've ever seen the Thundercats magazine. We talked about He-Man a little bit last time, but Thundercats, right up that He-Man alley. More Olympics previews. I feel like even though Olympics are only every 4 years. Oh, the other one was Summer Olympics. Yeah, I was like, I feel like we've done a lot of Olympics here. It was Summer Olympics, yeah. So we've got some hot talk about Brian Boitano. I wonder what he would do. Bill Johnson, Tamara McKinney, skiers. I like the Winter Olympics. They're fun. Someone recently said that the specialness of the Olympics has been taken out now that they're every 2 years. And I agree wholeheartedly. I enjoyed when they were all in 1 year and you had a 4-year dearth of Olympics. And then in 1 year, you just had this Olympic explosion all across your TV. I feel like that was, it was just a better time. It was a better way to enjoy the Olympics. Because now I don't know, every 2 years it seems like it's not as special, even though I know it's the winter and the summer are every 4, but it just, you get that whole year. It was just it was a vibe back then. It was just all year long. It was Olympic fever, sustained for like 12 months. It was a thing. We've got some discussion about the Space Nuts, talking about the Young Astronauts program. I applied to this with NASA. I believe that's what this is. Oh, no, that was Space Camp. Yeah, I applied to Space Camp. I think a friend of mine did do Space Camp. I applied to it, and I think it was expensive, and we couldn't rock it. But I was a huge Space Camp fan. But this is the Young Astronauts program. It was founded in 1984 to help kids learn more about space. You open a local chapter. You participate in fun science experiments, field trips to observatories, etc. So you can open your own chapter of the young astronauts. Was anyone out here, when I'm sure you all were space fans, anyone was a young astronaut? That's kind of fun. And we get a little talk about the winter's best movies and TV shows. Of course, the best that they're talking about here, the absolute best, is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That's about to drop, and that's about to change your world. What a great movie. Absolutely amazing movie. Sadly, Leonard Part 6 also came out. That's all we're going to say about that. The movie Batteries Not Included, which tenants in a rundown apartment face the loss of their home, but aliens from outer space arrive and save the day. That's a movie I always wanted to like, and I never could get around to liking it. I believe it had Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy, who are fabulous, and I never could really get into it. And then they stumped for the Super Bowl. You got an advertisement for the Chipmunks home video. We've got some bodybuilding. A little 2-page spread about how to be a bodybuilder. And there's a nice pic of Arnold Schwarzenegger from his Mr. Olympia years. I swear to, I mean, we've all seen these photos. It's ridiculous. It looks like he's on the Venice Beach a little bit. And he just looks like an action figure, like literally where, like now they cut the action figures at the midsection so they can kind of rotate. That is literally what he looks. It looks like he has a cut in that midsection so his body can move. It's so crazy. But they give you good tips here. Prevent injury. Make sure you have a friend spot you. The most important thing about weightlifting is not to lift too much. Could cause serious injury. Always begin by stretching. Each exercise in your workout consists of a certain number of reps per set. You should work out 3 times a week and take a rest day in between. Did you know that it's on the rest day that the muscles actually build? Lifting weights actually breaks down muscle tissue. Rest days give the muscle a chance to build back stronger. And along with working out and resting, the most important thing for muscle building is a good diet. Be sure to eat lots of bread, vegetables, and fruit. Bread. They help repair muscles. Protein, which you can get from fish, lean meat, and dairy, helps build muscle mass. So, then they've got pictures of this little kid on his own home workout bench. Good for him. He's wearing a yellow, looks like a Hulkamania style little Dago T thing going on. We're in the poster section, and mine's still stapled in, so I can't say exactly what's on there, but it's a poster of Chuckles jumping off a tomahawk. I'm here for that. A lot of times it's been the cover, but this is not the cover. This is Chuckles on a tomahawk, and there's we've got Tunnel Rat and Leatherneck. That's a cool poster. And we've got our story, which we'll get back to. And we've got a 2-page spread on where no kid has gone before. Will Wheaton aiming for the stars. And they talk about how we were introduced to Will in Stand By Me. And absolutely, man, he was killer in Stand By Me. And I know since he's gone on to become a big geek, genre icon. And all respect to him. But I know that his character was loathed. So this is written before the world hated Wesley Crusher. This is adventures where no kid has gone before his own mission to play the part of Wes Crusher on the new 1-hour television series Star Trek The Next Generation. So this is it means a lot of excitement and a whole lot of work for him. To prepare for this, he spent the summer reading just about everything ever written on Star Trek. He became an expert in handling tricorders and communicators and learned to travel by transporter. So he was in some episodes of Seen Elsewhere, Family Ties. He was in The Last Starfighter? What was Will Wheaton in The Last Starfighter? I've seen that movie 100 times. He wasn't the brother. Oh boy, hold on. Okay, I'm back, everyone. He was the little brother's friend in Last Starfighter. I did not know that. I need to, we should always be rewatching The Last Starfighter, first of all. I did not know that was Will Wheaton. Okay. I was gonna retroactively call BS on this article, but they know what they're talking about. So anyway, there's a little write-up on Will Wheaton. This next article is actually really fun. It's called Little Guys Make It Big, and it's about pro sports stars short on size but long on talent, which is just funny. They talk about Spud Webb, and they talk about Muggsy Bogues, 2 of the best to ever do it. and they were very short. They say how it's 5 foot. Muggsy Bogues is 5'3", and Spud Webb is 5'7", like 5'6" maybe. 5'3" Muggsy Bogues was. That was ridiculous. That's how good he was. In football, this is interesting. You would think that basketball would be considered the hardest to be short, but according to them, and they might be right, because it says football is the sport that's hardest for little guys to crack. The average player is 6'2", yet running back. Now, Lionel Train James, I don't remember him, but he was a Charger. I love that his name was Lionel, like Lionel Train, or his nickname would be Train. That's great. But he was 5'6". I don't recall him. And then they talk about Gerald McNeil from the Cleveland Browns, who was known as Ice Cube. And maybe the reason they're right. I don't remember. I don't remember those dudes at all. I'm sure my super football buddies know exactly who they are, and I'm a moron. But when we moved to baseball, man, best things to come out of Minnesota: Prince, Kirby Puckett, and Bob Dylan. And Kirby Puckett is 5'8", 5 inches shorter than the average baseball player. Kirby Puckett was awesome. Man, I loved Kirby Puckett. Rest in peace. And Dave Winfield was 6'6". Yikes. And John Cangelosi, they talked about. He was only 5'8". So yeah, listen. If you're out there, you're a short king. You can achieve anything. Speaking of short kings, we've got High Flying Hill, a guy named John Kevin Hill, who was 11 years old, and he flew a Cessna across the United States. He received a congratulations from President Reagan. He said it was like a roller coaster. I kind of remember this. Obviously, I think his dad was with him the whole time, but here we go. His flight instructor, Mark Fields, not his dad, accompanied him in the cockpit. However, Fields never took control of the plane. He was just there in case of emergency. John was from Arlington, Texas, and he's been flying since he was 9 years old. I Googled him today, and I was not able to find anything on him, so I don't know if John Kevin Hill is still out there. If you are, salute you, still flying the friendly skies. We've got an ad for the G.I. Joe Action magazine. This is more we're in the code breaker section, and this is where I'm saying it's just not G.I. Joe enough for me. There's a winter word watch. It's got nothing to do with G.I. Joe. There's an about out section where the quiz will test the outer limits of your imagination. Each word has something outrageous in common. So it's like it's exceed an achievement and you outdo it. There's G.I. Joe Who Survives, obviously is Outback, but like that's it. There's one mention of G.I. Joe in there. Then there's a page of code breakers. So it's 7 clues to break this code. Like $1 equals 100 cents, CENTS, right? So you're, as you fill in the cents, the word cent, those have numbers that correspond to a code. And the code certainly is G.I. Joe centric. It says Cobra will attack the pit at dawn. Sorry, spoiler alert. Defend, right? But like the questions got nothing to do with G.I. Joe. I just feel like I want to say work harder, people. Make this more G.I. Joe centric. Like there's, G.I. Joe had enough snow stuff. You could have G.I. Joe snow questions. Anyway, disappointing. Now on the last page though, it is Psych Out made a list of holiday gifts. Guess what each present is, and then which Joe team member the gift is for. So that's pretty Joe centric. I'll give them that. But it's also really, really out there because it's like sea under seas with a pair of these. So I imagine it'd be snorkeling goggles, and then you'd say wetsuit, right? That's got to be the answer. Mission gift. Just for mission gift. Goggles for wetsuit. Yeah. It's black and it's round and it plays a rocking sound. So that would be... Oh, it's a record. See, why would that be for Crazy Legs? What has that got to do with Crazy Legs? Was he a big album guy? 4 would definitely be Sneak Peek. This is like a pair of eyes that make things seem 10 times their size. So that'd be binoculars. And so that's got to be for Sneak Peek, right? For binoculars, Sneak Peek, that makes sense. Turn the pages, laugh for ages. a book or comic book. And who would that be for? It says a joke book for chuckles. Kill yourselves. With a screen, a disc, and some keys, it makes math homework a breeze. So it's got to be a calculator, and I'm going to say that's for mainframe. No, it's a computer for mainframe. Okay, so some of them make sense. Crazy Legs, that must have been something in his bio file card. Anywho, speaking of file cards, I saw someone on eBay who's selling stickers of file cards. It wasn't super cheap, but it was like 100 of them, so it's not terrible. It wasn't a terrible price. It was pretty neat, though. I don't know how good the resolution is on the scans, but I've got some Joe stickers off eBay before, and they're pretty neat. Anyway, it was unsolicited info for you, but if you're looking for Joe stickers of file cards, they're there to be had. So we got Adventures with a Mountain Climber. So now we've got a kind of a bio of this mountain climber named John Ruskelly. I'm talking about mountaineering. And why don't they tie that in with Alpine? Just throwing that out there. And this is nuts. So two things before we get into the story. There is an ad here for Square Marbles. If anyone here understands what Squarbles is, please speak up. Literally Square Marbles. It looks like there's a little pen thing with like a rubber band kind of trigger that shoots them. You know, it's like you fire marbles, but they're square, so they're like Tetris blocks that just run into each other. I have no idea. I think there's a good reason we've never heard of Squarbles after this, but Square Marbles is a new thing. And now on the very back, there's an advertisement for Ambush, which is you could order it's the vehicle driver kit set, which would have been a great purchase. It's got Frostbite and Crankcase and Thunder. And then you've got the Cobra Stinger driver, Copperhead, and the Cobra Hiss driver. So this is that 6-pack. And you could get those, you can get those for $16 plus $1.50 postage and handling. $16 for 6 dudes. That's a good steal. I like Thunder. I never had a Thunder. I still don't think I have Thunder. I think I gotta fix my Thunder issue. All right. The Big Chinese Chill. Alone in the snow, the Joes battle more than weather. It's not the heat, it's the humidity, Outback explained. That's what I love about the jungle. It's so much better than this place. In my opinion, sweat doesn't count unless you work it. Work it up like this, at 40 degrees below zero, Iceberg laughed. Tunnel Rat and Lifeline looked like they were smiling at Iceberg's joke, but it was just their teeth chattering. The place, a snowy, mountainous, sub-zero, uninhabited area of China. The mission. Winter survival training. The goal. Stay alive for 4 days with minimal rations, ammo, and equipment. The alternatives. Almost none. Dialtone was packing a radio with enough juice to send a special coded SOS message, but the Joe team would be court-martialed if they used the radio in anything but a certain death situation. Dialtone's been gone for 2 hours looking for food, Tunnel Rat said. Tunnel Rat wasn't just telling his buddies the time. He was beginning to worry. But Iceberg's face was one big happy icicle. If you didn't know what to look for, the mission leader said without concern, you could spend the rest of your life trying to find food around here. Well, that's what I'm afraid of, Outback said. I'm going to find him, said Lifeline. Hold it, Iceberg said calmly. If you guys are so worried about Dialtone, we're all going after him. They cinched their parkas tighter and picked up their packs, which seemed 5 times heavier in the strong winds. After a slow hour of marching through the drifting, crunchy snow, the team came to a sight that froze their hearts. Nailed to a tree were Dialtone's clothes. His Joe insignias had been ripped off and replaced with a dozen scarlet Cobra patches. What? Outback snarled. This survival training was supposed to be a secret drill. How did these cold-blooded snakes find out we were here? Tunnel Rat quickly searched the empty uniform as it blew in the wind. Well, maybe this will answer your question, he said, handing a piece of paper to Iceberg. Iceberg read the note aloud. Hello, G.I. Jokes. Too bad none of you are going to survive your survival mission, especially now that we're here, and your communications expert will become Wolf Meat, signed Cobra Commander. Well, now what? Lifeline asked. What now? We just found the clothing of our probably dead friend. But no one had an answer. The facts of the situation were hard and cold. The team was in the middle of a frozen wilderness without supplies and surrounded by an unknown number of Joe hunting Cobra agents. Maybe a dozen, maybe 1,000. The home team wouldn't come for them for 2 more days. when the training mission was scheduled to be over, and the only Joe who could send a life or death save our skin distress signal was now in enemy hands and naked. We've got to rescue Dial Tone, Lifeline said. Iceberg shook his head. Not now. Night is coming. We need a base, someplace to thaw out, hide, and survive. I think I can dig what you're saying, Tunnel Rat said. He went to work immediately, burrowing into a solid bank of snow and ice at the side of a mountain. In a little while, the Joes climbed into the ice cave Tunnel Rat had created. Braced by fallen trees, it would be their home until daylight. I like to think of a world where, because he's Tunnel Rat and that's his expertise, the other Joes just sit there not digging while he does it. And he's like, aren't you going to help? And they're like, well, no, you're Tunnel Rat. You're supposed to do it. And he's like, yeah, but you could help. Just because I know where to dig and how to dig doesn't mean I can't use another set of hands. And they're like, no, go for it. I'll help you if you hurt yourself, said Lifeline. Anyway, this place looks like a sauna, Iceberg said, crawling back out of the cave. I'm going for a nice cold walk. You don't fool anyone, Iceberg, Lifeline said. You're more worried about Dial Tone than the rest of us. Iceberg just smiled and waved. Darkness, below freezing temperatures, back-snapping winds. Into this, Iceberg plunged ahead like a kid on a picnic. But suddenly, frightening howls screamed even louder than the wind. There was no need to turn around. Iceberg knew there was a wolf pack standing behind him. The only question in his mind was whether they were just angry or hungry too. His gun was useless against so many wolves. He couldn't shoot them all, and besides, gunfire would bring Cobra faster than the wolves could jump. Slowly, Iceberg reached into his pack of explosives and wrapped his gloved fingers around something round and long. Without looking back, he flipped it at the wolves. Then Iceberg turned his flashlight beam on the snarling beasts. Too bad, he thought. I was saving that slab of liverwurst for breakfast. He thought. He watched the hungry animals chaw happily at the meat. Then he left quietly to keep looking for Dial Tone. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander had arrived at a location 100 yards from the Joe's snow cave. With him was a guest of honor, Dial Tone, tied like a hunted deer to the front of Cobra Commander's snowmobile. And he was wearing a Cobra Arctic uniform. Dum-dum-dum. The snakes had captured the communications expert while he was searching for lunch for his buddies. 10 Cobra Vipers had risen out of the snow like phantoms, camouflaged in white fatigues. His small laser pistol was useless against the encircling force, and he had to surrender. And now he could only watch helplessly while Cobra snuck down into the snow cave where the rest of the team was hiding. Help had better come quickly, he thought, or we're all going to be frozen popsicles. You're certain they're in here? Cobra Commander called to Big Boa, the Cobra trainer. Our heat sensors do not lie, Big Boa said. They indicate 3 bodies. Well, there's supposed to be 4, Cobra Commander said, frowning. But life isn't always perfect. Prepare to commence firing on my signal. Then he turned to Dial Tone. This is the fun part of my job, capturing GI jerks when they least expect it. You wouldn't like to tell me where your other buddy is to save yourself a lot of pain, would you? Forget it, Chrome Dome, Dial Tone said with disgust. Surround them, Cobra Commander ordered Big Boa. How would Dial Tone know where the other buddy is? Dial Tone's been kidnapped for the better part of a day. Anyway, the Joe team inside the snow cave couldn't see or hear Cobra troops moving into attack position, but Iceberg could. He was watching the action through infrared binoculars from his vantage point on a ridge. Well, I got here just in time, Iceberg thought. This calls for a diversion tactic, a fireworks display. Iceberg snapped on a pair of mini jet skis and zipped up and down behind the Cobra troops. Along the way, he emptied his backpack, but this time, he wasn't leaving liverwurst. He was planting explosives that could be detonated by remote control. When the bombs were all in place, Iceberg started setting them off one by one in every direction. My leader, Big Boa shouted to Cobra Commander when the explosion started. Joes, they're everywhere. We're surrounded. Iceberg grinned because his plan was working. The Cobra troops were frozen with fear. They heard a low rumble that grew louder and louder, but then Iceberg's plan backfired. With a deafening crash, a mountain of snow came pouring down on the snow cave, burying the 3 Joes inside. Kill Dial Tone and let's get out of here, Cobra Commander shouted above the avalanche. Big Boa raised his snub-nosed machine gun toward Dial Tone. Suddenly, with a roar, Iceberg jet-skied by Big Boa, giving him a big slap in the back as he passed. Then Iceberg stopped right in front of Dial Tone and Cobra Commander. You are one against many, Big Boa said to Iceberg. Iceberg laughed. That wasn't a love pat I just gave you, Big Boa, he said. He held a detonator in one hand. That was a half-pound of plastic explosives I slapped on your back. Tell your troops to scram or we're going to see snakeskin all over this mountain. Big Boa didn't have to think twice. Retreat, he yelled to his troops. The Cobra Army, their troop leader and commander, disappeared as fast as they could. Thanks, Iceberg, Dial Tone said as his arms and legs were freed. Well, no sweat, Iceberg said. But now we'd better get busy digging the team out. Iceberg leaped at the mountain of snow. They can't last more than half an hour in that avalanche. The two Joes shoveled, and when their shovels bent, they scooped the snow with their hands. Half an hour passed. Then 45 minutes. Finally, the mound of snow they were digging at suddenly started digging back at them. A hole opened up, and Tunnel Rat peeked out first. Well, that was fun, Tunnel Rat said. But now we got to save Dial Tone. Well, save me? You tunnel-digging fool. I thought I was saving you, Dial Tone laughed, stepping forward. An hour later, the air was thick with Joe choppers, and soon the team was warm and dry and heading home. Well, you should have seen the look on Cobra Commander's face when he showed up, Dial Tone said to Iceberg. You're off his Christmas list for good. Well, that's nothing compared to how mad Big Boa is going to be, Iceberg said with a laugh. Well, why's that? Outback asked. Well, the truth is, I ran out of plastic explosives, Iceberg said, so instead I slapped a half-pound of liverwurst on his back. He doesn't know it, but he's going to be real popular with the local wolves. And we've got some images here, some paintings of Outback and Lifeline and Iceberg kind of rappelling up the hill. Iceberg on skis, kind of leaping over Big Boa and the Viper and Cobra Commander. Here's what I like. They took the time to actually put them in like winter coats instead of just Big Boa's exposed chest. That's fun. Smart. And then we've got a drawing of when Tunnel Rat met Dial Tone, except Dial Tone's in his clothes and not in that Cobra outfit, which begs the question of why was that? Like, is that the only... why did they have to derobe him if only to put on a Cobra outfit? They could have, like, just left his beret or just left his radio... I guess not his radio. Well, they could have shot the radio out or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. It seems weird that they got him naked but then put him in Cobra clothing. That seems weird. Although, a frightening image, if you think about it. You look for your buddy, and then just there's his pose. And he's nowhere to be seen in the snow. Like, he could have gone snow crazy. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. G.I. Joe Magazine, winter 1988. I hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you next week for, I guess it'd be, what is it? Would it be spring? Winter of 88? Spring of 88 is the next one. And remember, you can catch all these on 3D Joe's. They have all the PDFs for all these issues. And in fact, I don't think I have spring. So I think I'll have to read spring off of the website next week, which will be a lot of fun. So, until next time, now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.